Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone, based on your time zone, and people who are joining from the India, happy Independent Day to all of you. And we have a special guest today, Ines, with us, and we are going to talk about the Social Studio. So my name is Amit Chaudhary. I'm the founder and the co-organizer of Farmington Hill. With that said, I'm not going to take too much time here and will hand over to Ines for her introduction.
Thank you, Amit. Hello, everyone. Happy Independence Day for the ones from India. I'm Ines Garcia. I'm a Salesforce MVP and an Agile coach. And basically what these two things together mean that I do every day is to help companies to be more agile whilst we deliver Salesforce technology. I have 10 certifications and I really enjoy playing with different products of Salesforce, I must admit. And then I get very involved with the community, like how I got to know the Salesforce community was through the Answers over 7 years ago when I had no idea. And people from all over the world will help me to solve my business problems. So, you can see me there today because it's my time to give back. You can find some of my content in Salesforce Weekly and Salesforce Ben. I'm quite passionate to help people over there to join in this community. So I'm trying to help out in the mentorship center and some other things, as you can see over here. And because life is not only Salesforce, I get similarly involved with the Agile Alliance and the Scrum Alliance, which is all about the Agile mindset. So personally, super happy to be here because, as you can see, in 2018, it was the first time that Amit asked me if I love to join. And, at the beginning, I was like, oh my God, Apex hours, what am I Apex gonna tell you? But yeah, it was really great also last year being able to meet in person in Dreamforce. It was a fantastic Dreamforce. And, looking back, we were really lucky to be there. Okay, right, let's get to the content. Enough about me. And so Social Studio, in a nutshell, what it is for a place for a company to have their multiple social handlers in one place. That's helpful because people doesn't have to log in multiple different things, like maybe you have multiple Twitter accounts and Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn and this, that, and the other. And so you have a single place, but also because you have a single place, you don't have to share credentials. So in terms of security, it's very good. And we all have heard some horror stories when people do have the native social media credentials and then that person leaves the company, and some horror stories out there if you want to do some research. Now, Social Studio is more than that, and I was really lucky to do a few implementations. I actually really enjoy this. I come from communications background, so it's quite fun. And some of the things that make Social Studio unique are the things that we have here, right? So before I jump in and I show you a demo and all that, I just wanted to cover what those things are that are special that other potential competitors doesn't have. So the first one is topic profiles. And what topic profiles helps you to do is find out about conversations that you want to be aware that you wouldn't know otherwise. And that's tangibly what it means is that if somebody tags your company or yourself in a conversation, you will know, you get a notification. But how about if they say your name or your company name and you are not necessarily tagged, or it's a hashtag, or you want to be aware of industry-related conversations that you just wouldn't know and you don't have the manpower to find out. So topic profiles helps you to do exactly that. It's basically a search engine, and you can define which kind of words you are interested on, and then it will bring you back the results in a way that you can engage, you can answer, and you can be at least aware and do some analytics out of it. So that's topic profiles. And topic profiles goes really well with the next one, which is source groups. And source groups is exactly that, a group of a source. So for example, what you could do with them is group your influencers in one place. So that together with a topic profile, it helps you to listen even extra careful for this particular group of people. And in the same way, you could use source group for exclusion. So maybe there are some specific media handlers that are very noisy and doesn't really bring what you want. So you can use it as an exclusion, or you can have one for your competitors, because if they are triggering industry conversations, you may not necessarily want to be engaged with those. So there we go. And the next one is engagement macros. And engagement macros is kind of similar to the Service Cloud macros, if you guys had any experience with that. And in brief, what it is you're able to give one button to your users, and then that button does multiple things in the background. So it saves them time. The other things is labels, and labels are just a very flexible tagging system. And you have two types. So one is for authors. So maybe I'm having a conversation with your company, and maybe you want to tag me that, I don't know, Football Club Barcelona, or I don't know, VIP, if that's the case. So next time we talk, you have this kind of tags about myself, and that will help you to have more relevant conversations with me. So it gives you context. Or maybe, you know, other thing, different tiers that you may have. And the other kind of labels is post labels. And post labels, instead for the author, is for the post person. So maybe you want to tag something as a complaint, or hopefully as a compliment. So it helps you to sort of mark the different posts, and that also helps you for analytics after that. And then last from the different few things I wanted to cover is the sentiment model. And out of the box, Social Studio gives you already a setup algorithm that's going to be telling you the posts coming in, how are they? How is the sentiment towards your brand and those conversations? And it's 1 out of 3. It was out of 5, and then they reduce it. So either the sentiment is positive, is neutral, or is negative. You also have the ability to change individually some of the posts, because we know that sarcasm is quite difficult to grasp from a machine, at least at this point of time. So yeah, it gives you the ability to the user to say, actually, this one, it might sound positive, but actually it's not that positive, or the other way around. You know, the youngsters nowadays uses some words that, you know, they may mean cool and fun, but, you know, it may not mean for the machine that. All right, so that's all the different concepts I wanted to cover. So the next is that all these different things in Social Studio are grouped in what's called workspaces. So let's say if you work with Marketing Cloud, maybe you have the concept of business unit. So it will be something similar, where you can select which topic profiles, which different handlers, and which users have access to which workspace. So that gives you the ability to segregate and control access to the data happening in there. So maybe you want to look at having a geographically different approach for your communications in different areas of the world, or you may have multi-brand. So you may want to group each one in a different workspace. And well, this friend over here, we'll see if we have time. At least I'll try to show you quickly that as an extra application of Social Studio, you also have this thing. It used to be called the Hub, but now is Social Studio Automate. And it has a good name now, because basically it helps you to automate stuff. So when the data is coming in, it can be listening for that feed of data and saying, well, you define which characteristic that post may have, and then you can apply automatically the tags or automatically send it to Salesforce and things like that. So it helps you to automate. Okay, now, just before we jump into it, I want to show you the high level flow of the data. So imagine, you know, the different social networks. Once you connect them into Social Studio, they kind of become, the feed becomes part inside of what's called the Marketing Cloud suite. it's not Marketing Cloud, it's just how they group the different products, and the UI is completely different. So there, what will happen is it listens the data, so it's fetching the data over once you connect your native social accounts. And you have the ability to send that data into Service Cloud, into Salesforce, if you want to. And you can do that in two different ways. So either with Automate that I just mentioned, or with manual engagement, I need to change that word, which it would be with those macros also that I mentioned. So you'll have a user pressing a button that sends that information over to Salesforce. Either of the two options, when it's sending over to Salesforce, it's using a default Apex class that comes with the connector once you install your Social Studio connector over. And that Apex class, what it does is basically maps stuff to standard objects, like a contact, for example, and also with some of the objects that comes with the package, such as social persona and social post. Now, information may want to go the other way. So things coming in, your servicing agents are monitoring, and maybe you want to give them the option to respond. And to do that, you can give them an action into their console. So the agent have a way to answer through the UI. Once that happens, it goes all the way back into Marketing Cloud Suite. And the section which is the publisher is the outbound messages from Social Studio out into the world. And when that happens, then it goes to the social networks. Now, there is a bit of delay every time it changes the data from one to another. And with implementations, what you will find if you have your agents that are answering directly in the native platforms, they get a bit surprised that may take a couple minutes for that response to be shown in, let's say, Twitter, for example. Also, I want to explain that Social Studio already is a conjunction of two different companies, hence the very separated listening part of it and the publisher part of it. It really acts as its own thing. Okay, right. So enough about slides. And the thing that I didn't really want to come up with, like a use case and all that jazz, you know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a picture for the ones that want to have their pretty face on the camera. Then feel free to put the camera on. And I'm going to take a screenshot. And so the idea is that with that image, we're going to be using it in Social Studio. And, you know, I'll post something with the image that I'm going to take in a minute. And you guys will be able to see it there. And then you're going to have the opportunity to respond and interact with it. And so we can see all that data, and then I can show you everything that we just talked about, but within the platform being live. So let's see. Whoever wants to take the camera off, just to do that picture. And in the meantime, there is a question: what licenses do you need to have? So this is an extra product. So you need to buy Social Studio as a product, and you'll need to discuss with your account executive in terms of pricing and so on. You can just maybe start with the starter pack or have the whole Social Studio, and also you have the ability to add the Automate if you want to. All that is different pricing options. Hope that answers that question. And in terms of users who have access to the applications, you will do that within Social Studio. So you don't handle that if they're answering, unless you give them the action within the Service Cloud action pane. Okay, right. So we got some faces there, which is cool. Let me take that screenshot. Okay. Right, let's go. Sorry, there is another. Okay, I'll have a look at that question later. And yeah, so hopefully the demo gods are with us and everything works to plan. And once you log in Social Studio, you'll see this. And this is all the different workspaces. I'm using like a training org. So you see all sorts of stuff. Let's go and find the one. Yeah, there you go. Such a creative name that I gave it, Ina's demo. Okay, right, so first let's head over the publish section so we can publish that picture just there. Now, as you can see, the publishing section is like a way where you can organize your comms from your social media channels in one place. And you can collaborate with the rest of the team so you know what is being scheduled, what's happened, and so on. The other ability that you have is you can just put a note. So for example, if you know that, summer sales coming up or something like that, or you have another campaign coming up or whatever, you can just put simple notes here. So your colleagues know that that's happening. And as you can see, this is the different social channels that are supported so far. At this point of time, one thing though with Instagram is that it doesn't handle private direct messages. And this is because it's not available in the API, hence Salesforce can fetch that information over. Okay, right, so let's see, this may be a bit small for your screens. I tend to strain my eyes for some reason. Okay, right, so what I created here is just a draft. I knew this was happening, so there we go. So I can edit this post and put that picture that we just took now. So when you post, you simply select which of the handlers you want to use to post it out. You can add emojis or whatever else, and you can also add handlers in the conversation. You just need to make sure that they are selected as I just done now. And hashtags should work easily. So now we upload images. There you go. And then you have the preview over here, so how that's gonna look once we post it. You also have the ability to select from connected apps, and you can connect apps such as Getty Images and things like that. So if you have licenses for different applications like this, you can just fetch professional images from there. What else we have? So labels. So as we were talking about, you can also add labels to the post that you are sending out. So after in the analytics section, you could be like grouping in terms of performance. How are they behaving by the different labels that you're using? And yeah, you can schedule specific date and time and it will send. You have ability as well to like shorten if you have also different licenses for that, and add analytics from Google Analytics tags and things. Now we can schedule or we can just publish now. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so should be out in the wild very shortly. So what will be great is that you guys just head over to Twitter, find the post and interact with that, and then so in a minute, like we can see, the likes, the retweets, the comments, the posts, the whatever it is. We're gonna be able to see it live just here. I'll continue chatting once you guys do that. Okay, and then in this overview also you can see and you can filter the different items that you have. As you can see, there is also the ability to send items to approval. So for example, you may have an intern or somebody new to the organization, and you do want them to help you with this messaging out and engaging and whatever else, but you don't necessarily want to give them the ability to send them unless somebody reviews, because the tone of voice for your company It just, it's very quirky, and you just need to make sure that that goes with the guidelines. So you have that approvals ability to do so as well. Draft. So, well, I don't have a draft anymore, but if I didn't send that one, we'll be able to see it here. And then you have a little bit of analytics, but just very high level over here in terms of the interactions that happens between your outbound efforts. So yeah, and the other thing is I only have connected at this point of time my Twitter account and then my company page in LinkedIn, just to give you a bit of a difference between the two, but I haven't connected anything else. Task, well, you can add tasks to yourself, and share content, which is interesting because this gives you the ability to, you may have done like a campaign or a simple outbound message that has worked really well. And just because you organize your content and the accessibility to that content within workspaces, it may not be accessible by another workspace, but if something works really well, maybe you want to share with another area, another workspace, another brand, or another area in the world, if that's how you segregate your data. Okay, so that is it from Publish. I'm gonna jump, so we have Engage and Analyze, but before we jump into those, I'm just gonna show you the admin section, which I would imagine that if any of you is gonna implement Social Studio, that's a place where you're gonna be heading often. Okay, right. So we have lots of different things here. Social accounts is where you manage. So we could be adding a different Twitter account and then select which workspace that's going to go to. The Sentinel model, let's have a look, as we just mentioned earlier. So it gives you the specific changes that has happened. So for example, here, this person a few weeks ago decided that instead of negative, that model was prompting to, actually was a positive thing. So you can be changing the things, and then over time the algorithm will learn certain words. You can also tweak the words directly there. Social accounts, engagement macros. Yeah, so engagement macros is that functionality that gives you the ability to create a button and then make the button do multiple things. So we'll see this when we get to engage, but let's imagine the scenario that we want to give the users the ability to assign themselves something, so the rest know that they're working on it, and also to change the status so they know it's in progress. So we can do this just simply by add new. We say in progress. We need to select to which workspace we're going to be adding this to. Now, that the different options that you have here. So for us, we're going to say maybe a review. Yeah, so it's review, but we still need to answer, right? You would also be able to change the priority if you want the assignment. We want to be the current user, but also sometimes you want to have the ability just to like escalate something to the supervisor. So you could be selecting a particular user that you have here. You can change sentiment, classification, the post labels if you want to. I've seen using this for maybe language. So very quickly you do the same, but if you're handling multiple language, you may want to have separate ones for the different language, so you can do analytics after that. And for the users, it's the same button they would use. It's doing something extra for you later. Yeah, and other labels, blah, blah, blah. And then here you have the ability to send to Salesforce. We're not going to do this, and I will tell you more about the sending to Salesforce later, which I have my own strong opinions about. And of course, we need to put some description. Right, save. Cool. So we have there the macros. I'll try to remember. So we use it later on while that's loading. You also have engagement responses. So for example, here we have, it's very similar to quick text. So you can have predefined answers, especially if you're running a campaign, you probably want to have things here that very quickly your users can grab and then they can change it if they want to, but at least you give them something to start with. Users, that's where you manage your users. And here in Social Studio is a bit more strict. You have less maneuver to decide what people have access to, really, than how you would do in Salesforce itself or even in Marketing Cloud. So you really only have 4 different types of accesses that you can give to people. Now, let's think about this. Like for me, I think any users should go to basic user, and that after you can select which workspaces they have access to. And so you kind of have 2 layers. That will be like best practice is just give basic user. Now, then you have super users that is like super admin, like I have now, right now, where I can do all the admin section, but I can also get involved with the conversation. I can see the actual feed of the topic profiles, and we'll see engage in a minute. And I can have a look at this conversation and stuff like that. The admin only is only the section that we're looking at. So I struggle to see in real life when would I give access to this that doesn't have access to the actual data, and especially doesn't have access to the analytics. So for me, it's something that so far in the few implementations we never used. And then the full user, which I don't use either, because the big difference between basic user and full user is that the full user can actually change some of the topic profiles, and I particularly don't think that should be or hasn't been the case to be used so far. So you have 4 roles, but most likely you're going to use 2 only. Okay, right. So let's jump into the topic profiles and let's find them or something. I have something set up for us today. So let's remember that topic profiles is for us to define some parameters, and then the application is going to go and fetch in the wild and bring results. It's not only going to look to the social channels that you define, but actually is looking other media types. I'll show you. So when we create a topic profile, we can say which languages to listen to, but also the media types. And as you can see, it's going to bring you things over from aggregators and forums and things like that. So you'll need to monitor over time because you may want to remove some of the aggregators. So as you can see by cell and some of the things that you may want to reduce the noise for your users if it's something that you're not going to get involved with. Also, you can select by the regions of the world. And then here is where the magic happens when you're defining the groups of keywords that it's going to listen to. And also, for example, here I have 2 source groups that I'm using for exclusion. So I'll show you what is inside in a minute. But one is just different handlers that retweets everything like there is no tomorrow, and it's actually not bringing any value for us to respond. And then competitors, because any conversation from the competitors, I want to have 0 involvement because I don't want to give them any visibility. So we have 2 groups. So here is one about Salesforce and community. So you can define them item and item, like you will do in a report or something like that. You can just define words by themselves. And then here you see this squiggly thing. Let's click on it. So this is proximity. And I think it's quite cool because you can, for example, here is going to bring anything that has Salesforce and community to a maximum of 5 words in between them. So yeah, it just saves you the hassle to try to work out how people write and how far the world should be to bring it over. Or like maybe you are working on telephony, and you can put something like by phone and maybe have 3 words in between. So anything that contains by word and is as far as maximum of 3 words, then it will surface this information. So for your sales team, it must be useful. So, okay, and then let's go back. Yeah, so that's the one that we're gonna use in a minute. Let's go and have a look at the source group. So I just show you the competitors. There you go. So here we have some things I say, I don't want to listen anything about that. So it'll just filter out for you. And there is one more thing I want to show you that was, they add this, I think last year, and I think it's fantastic. One checkbox that is gonna save you lots. So, and this is enable crisis management. And so this comes super helpful because you may have like a lot of things scheduled to come out, talking about your brand, talking about other wonderful things. And in a situation where maybe there is a crisis happening in your particular company or around the world, not to mention anything, probably the last thing you want is to start talking about how wonderful you are. So it's time to come here and just with 2 clicks, enable this and then apply changes. It will pause everything. And I think it's fantastic feature, super easy, and it will save you some hiccups in terms of branding damage. Okay, now I gave you enough of time to find the tweet and answer and all that jazz. So we're gonna see what actually happened. So we covered the part of publish, and then we have jumped to the admin section, but now we're gonna go to the engage. So engage is where you're gonna have your agents or your comms coordinators talking on those on your social channels, and as well engaging with the topic profiles. And here you can have a specific template that you give, so all the users at least get started in the same way. But also users can organize themselves. They can add more tabs from here. So maybe they have one only for Twitter with multiple columns, like things that you tweet, things that people tweet to you, another one for direct messaging, you know, and then another one for Facebook, a different page, just similar to like Excel different tabs. For us, we're just gonna add 3 columns here, 2 columns here. Let's do topic profile first. We select the demo of Trailblazer community, and then start fetching data. And we can define more and say, okay, so only bring me things for today. And you can filter even more. Let's see. You can do it again by media types or different groups, languages, blah, 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 status, and so on. One of the things that, yeah, I may cover in a minute, but when you have a new post being fetched into the feed of listening, it will not have status. Now, this makes a great opportunity to purchase the Social Studio Automate, because you can make sure that when something comes in, has a status. Why is that important? Because right now, as an agent, and maybe it's 20 of us working at the same time, I have no way to say, bring me only new things. Either bring me all the statuses that will include empty statuses, or I just don't have the ability. So with the, I'll show you later how I've done it, but with the Automate, you could be defining things as a new. And so when you select it, it will come over here. Okay, so that's that. And then let's add another column. Let's select maybe my Twitter. Let's filter out maybe, let's see, media types. I don't want direct messages here, and my tweets, because it's just gonna be noisy. I just want what the rest of the peeps saying. And yeah, maybe things from today. Okay, there you go. So, so here we already have some engagement, which is great. As an agent, I can change the status. I can apply the macro that we created earlier. Just clicking this button is going to change, boom, it changed the status, and then it should change who is assigned, which is the current user, which is me. And then I can define also manually the priority and classification and whatever. And, you know, I'm surprised here because you say this is awesome. So it's definitely positive, right? Because awesome equals positive. And we're done. And then maybe next time we speak with Cal, I know that it's VIP, so I'm just gonna add here a tag. So next time we speak, I know how to treat him. And also you drag to the conversation because you only see that one particular post, but maybe there is a thread and you want to see what's all about. So you could be coming here to the conversation and say, we can also like, as you will do anywhere, and retweet, DM, blah, blah, blah. What else we have? Let's give it another like over here. Boom. And some retweets. So very good. I'm very pleased, everybody getting there involved. And let's answer with our engage predefined response. So I can select that quick text that I showed you earlier, but I could also amend it however I want. Okay, let's post this, boom. And then so on and so forth, right? We can also be filtering by the different status that we're giving to all these different feeds. And so it will hide for the other users working on this at the same time. And that's basically it with Engage. One user interface where you can have multiple feeds. It's easy to organize for yourself. Not all users wants to work in the same way. So it's really their workspace to do it however works best. And all point and click, so happy days. And one really good thing also of Social Studio is that, you know, we have all these feeds of data coming in, coming out, going over here. We put tags, we group them. Now, all this is tons of data, so you can analyze it. And so you have the third tab of Analyze that helps you to do this. Now, you have, everything goes in 3, right? So 3 tabs over here, 3 different types to analyze. And the first one is dashboard. So dashboards makes it look fantastic because with couple clicks, you get the dashboard out of the box. Now you have very little maneuver to change what the dashboard does. So let's create one with our topic profile. So let's say the listening of Trailblazer community. What did I click? 2, 3 times, I think. There you go. And all fantastic graphs and all of these things are happening in the background. I have to do nothing. So not even I don't even have time to do a cup of tea, and it's already made for me. And I also can define how long is the data coming. So if I say only bring me things from today, it will update in a minute with the data that's going to show me. So I have the feed here, and it's also something that I can interact. I can do similarly to the options that I had within Engage. Also, I can see the volume that is happening for this topic profile. So if I want to organize my concept strategy, I can see that, you know, there is a lot going on in Twitter for community. So that's probably somewhere where I want to put some efforts, and maybe some of the campaigns budget will go there over other places. Also, I have influencers. So and influencers, every single component that you have here is something that you can interact with. So just click over here, and I could also get involved. And it will give me the same pane that we had in Engage. I can, again, use the macros, I can respond, I can like, I can see the conversation, I can apply the labels and so on. Yeah, and then you can see organize influences about the different keywords that we organize in the topic profile. Also, you can see the trends across different social channels. We have the top words, and again, you can get involved and see, you know, what is this maybe community. And then it will filter out that particular keyword, and it gives you the feed, and then you can interact with the feed. So you can just play around and click around here, and nothing's gonna break, which is good. What else do we have? We had 2 different keywords groups. And so it's telling you where is majority, or how is split in a donut chart, the fit from the 2 different groups that you had in your social topic profile. Countries as well, languages that is used, sentiment over time, and overall. And that's it, 3 clicks, and you look great with your team. Now, this is one of the ways, but as I said, there is very little maneuver that you can do. And if you want to dig a bit deeper, you use workbenches. And so let's create one here. And we bring a data set. Let's try this time maybe from my Twitter account. Okay, and we can see over the last 7 days. So I say, okay, but I actually want to see segmented by languages, but also by countries. And then the specific one for English, I want to see trending on media type over time. And so, and you can continue to, you know, filter down and understand a bit more the data, that what's happening over here. And that's workbenches. And then last but not least, in terms of reporting, you have reports. And yeah, reports is fairly straightforward. So we can say, okay, bring me from my topic profile of the Trailblazer community. We can filter things out. How long do we want the report to run? The data, and also the format. So it can either bring you the raw data on a CSV, so you can do other things with it, or yeah, just bring me a PDF, and it will land in your email, and then you need to schedule for it to run. But that's it. Okay, so that is all on Analyze, and yeah, basically all Social Studio. So super quickly, I'm gonna show you the Automate, because I can't believe the time already. So Social Studio Automate is this. You can select which information is gonna come over here, and then do all the different functionality that I show you, but automated, so there is no manual intervention. So for example, here I have a data source that say, bring me all the feeds. So you can select which social channels that you have connected to Social Studio is gonna be bringing the data over. And then which kind of feed schedule you want. So for me, real time. And these 2 managed accounts, but you could be defining by keywords. And I said, just bring me absolutely everything and do it every 1 minute. Now, as I was talking earlier, for the users to be able to filter out who's working on something, and they need to have at least 1 status, and out of the box, it comes with no status at all. So that's what I'm doing here. Anytime something's coming into the listening part, I bring it over and I apply one status, which is the new. So that gives the ability then the users to filter out, and then they only work on the new things, and maybe have a different column only for the things assigned to them that are not closed. But you can do many other things, right? So add post and whatever, and then you have also classification, and you know, there is lots of more things that Yeah, we have not. Right, so let's go just here. So the demo gods have behaved well. We managed to do all of that. I did show you super mega briefly the automate. And now I'm gonna go back to this, right? And why I'm so into how the data behave. So let's go a bit deeper into that connector, which is basically an Apex class from a managed package when you send information over to Salesforce, right? And so it works this way. So when you're either using a macro or doing with automate and sending things over, it's gonna look if it's an existing post. If either or, it's gonna be updating the post, so adding it into a thread of post, or and attaching it to a social persona, because Ines, like myself as a contact, I will have multiple personas, one for Twitter, one for LinkedIn, one for who knows what. Now, if I don't exist in the system, it's going to be creating at least a contact and a persona, or attaching it if it finds me. Now, you have the ability to create a lead or create a case. So if it will check if the case exists, because we're having a back and forth about something, then it will append that information over there. Else it will create a new case. And you can also define, maybe create a case if the information, if it's been more than 5 days or something. So you have the ability within the connector in Salesforce to say, how many days to consider it a new case. And it's all well and good, but I'm going to tell you more about this. And so if you want to take a screenshot or just type this in the URL, I'm going to try to convince you why you need to give some votes to an idea that I added into the idea exchange. Because it needs to get better, that connector. And why? Many reasons. So right now, when, as I show you, when you're sending over the information into Salesforce, it's gonna be creating a social persona, okay, well and good, and a contact record. When is the first time that you're sending for that contact record? Now, you most likely have the contact already, like they are your customers. And so it's gonna be, well, creating contact records that are empty, because the only information it's gonna bring over is the surname, which is the only required field by the API. And it's gonna put whatever you have in your Twitter. So maybe my Twitter is Mr. Potato. So you're gonna have an empty contact record with the only information of surname, last name equals potato. Now, those records are redundant. It doesn't bring any value, and it's unnecessary storage usage. It obviously generates confusion, whoever finds potato contact, and it requires unnecessary manual process, because you need somebody to go there and go and change it and assign it to the right contact and delete the thing and whatever else. So obviously it gives you confusion. And on top of all of this, the integration, what it does is create an orphan contact, which are contacts with an account, without an account. And I'm just adding some information here from Trailhead, but it's something that Trailhead is telling us, don't do this, because no one can access an orphan contact aside of the system administrator. So you really don't want to put this burden on you. So it doesn't seem right. I've been speaking with the product manager, and yeah, it needs some love. So please give me some votes. So what happened then? I don't like the connector. I thought, I'm gonna make my own connector, no? After all, it's Social Studio and it's API, and you have available APIs. So I'll just invent my own connector that does what I wanted to do. So trying to do some matching or whatever else, but at least it's not creating all these contacts. And what happened is that it wasn't that simple, because today the Social Studio API is available is only going to bring you the data that you publish. So you remember earlier that I said that, you have the part of listening, which was one company, and then you had the part of publishing, which was another company. They got acquired together, they became Social Studio. Now, you only have the one of publish available. And we try everything and beyond, but today, that's the only information that you can bring. So for me, it made no sense to not being able to bring all the conversations that you guys were engaged with over. I could only bring the things that I already published. Why do I want this in Salesforce? I already know. So at this point of time, so I'm still trying to convince you to vote for the idea because it needs to get better. You don't want to have the empty contacts over there. So I have a workaround, and basically I didn't know how to call this a slide. So I put this emoji because this is how I feel. So today you can edit the Apex class from the connector and define that any new contact is gonna be attached, or any new persona that has not been allocated before is gonna be attached to a dummy contact that has a dummy account. So you have these 1, 2 records that are fake records that are helping you just to group everyone. So you don't have to create empty contacts and then create the account or whatever you need to do as a system admin, but at least they all go into this one thing. And then you can do a validation rule to make sure that that doesn't stay there. And so when somebody from servicing picks a case that is related to the dummy contact, then it gives them, for people, a validation rule. Make sure you attach it to the right contact. And then if you are nice enough, create a flow that tries to do some matching to find the right contact, maybe by the surname, or maybe, you know, by all the things that you ask them to fill up in the case. So hopefully it's less painful for them to find the right contact. So that's my workaround, but the connector still needs to get better. In the meantime, that's what you can do. And yeah, 5 minutes. I said I didn't need the hour, but I kind of did. So thank you very much for having me.